Within a few weeks, the health problems disappeared.
So he went along for about 5-6 months until he ran out of his feed supply. And guess what? The only feed available was, again, GMO-based feeds. The dairy herd within 60 days was right back in the same mess it was before. The swine herd took about 3 months and they were right back in the same predicament that they were before.
In South Africa, corn is the staple, eaten 3 times a day. The 50 to 60 workers on this farm were eating only the GM corn grown there. They were likely eating more genetically engineered food each day than any group in the world.
The health issues that they was running into was things like upper respiratory, colds, runny noses, just an achy feeling similar to like having the flu, and headaches, severe headaches. About once or twice a month, he'd have one of his laborers come to him, and these were not older people, these were younger people in their mid-20s through mid-40s. And he'd notice one very dramatic thing. He'd see the individual and they'd be talking and looking at each other in the eye, and one eye would go this way, and at the same time the other eye would go this way so they didn't track, like turning one way or the other. Now when he noticed that, or that occurred, normally that person would be dead within 24 to 48 hours after seeing that particular symptom.
When the farmer harvested non-GMO corn for his animals, the workers also switched to non-GMO corn.
His labor force had cleared up completely of the health issues they were having, why they were on the non-GMO.
And then he ran out.
It took about 30 to 40 days and they were right back in the same predicament as before. Since then I've heard from him a time or two, and he says now he has all non-GMO, and thanked me for the advice of never planting another GMO.
People always ask me, can we reverse the damage from eating a genetically modified diet? Well, mice in an Italian study give us some hope. They were fed genetically modified soy for 8 months and showed damage to their livers, pancreas, and testicles. But when they were put on a non-GM soy diet for the next month, a lot of the problems reversed.
When we teach doctors in this country and other countries about the importance of diet, one of the key factors that we teach is avoid all GMO foods.
One thing that's consistent in every single patient is removal of GMOs.
I've had a lot of different patients come in with various stages of chronic disease. That's what I specialize in, sort of these complex cases. And by changing the diet around, changing their nutritional status, a lot of the things that they come in with literally just go away.
Of course, GMO isn't the only thing that I do. I would never just do that. I use whatever works for patients individually. We look at what they're eating, and we take out the genetically modified foods and the industry foods, and they all get better. So it pretty much takes from 2 days to 2 to 3 months, and some people continue to recover over a couple of years, but it never doesn't work.
We have to somehow or other educate the public so that they understand that they have a choice. They don't have to eat genetically engineered foods.
There are only 9 genetically modified food crops, but their derivatives are found in over 70% of the foods in the supermarket, particularly the processed foods. There are 4 ways to avoid GMOs. Buy organic, buy products that say non-GMO, buy products listed in our non-GMO shopping guide, or avoid the at-risk ingredients altogether. Principally soy, corn, cottonseed oil, canola oil, and sugar from sugar beets. Most of those crops are genetically engineered. So if it's grown in the US and it doesn't say organic or non-GMO, it's genetically engineered.
If we can avoid those, I think certainly that would be a big step in improving people's health in terms of allergies, autoimmune disease, and a lot of conditions that we don't really even know too much about.
Also, aspartame is derived from a genetically engineered microorganism. Just Google aspartame and symptoms and camp out for a few hours. You'll never eat aspartame again. When people hear about the health dangers of GMOs, the first thing they want to do is avoid them. Millions of people are trying to avoid GMOs, and we make it easier for you. Go to NonGMOShoppingGuide.com and find thousands of products that have been verified as non-GMO. Or download the free iPhone application, Shop No GMO. Or get our booklet. It makes it much easier for you to shop for healthier non-GMO products.
And we're very thankful for the organizations that are now certifying products that are non-GMO so that we can have that assurance that we're buying something that we support.
And when you look for non-GMO labels, look for NonGMO Project Verified. They're a third-party verifier, and they back up the claims that companies make.
The NonGMO Project is a nonprofit organization that's committed to preserving a non-GMO food supply, educating consumers about the GMO issue, and providing verified non-GMO choices. In the last year, sales of non-GMO Project verified products have gone from $348 million to over $1.2 billion. So the growth is incredible. It's 219% growth, and that's because so many more brands are enrolling, because so many more consumers are asking for it. We have close to 400 brands that have enrolled in the Non-GMO Project, 6,000 products at this point, 4,000 of them are verified. And the commitment of these companies is coming from consumer demand. People are asking for non-GMO choices. They don't want to be part of the GMO experiment. They don't want to feed GMOs to their families. And companies in the organic and natural products industry are really stepping up by getting their products verified and getting them labeled so that people can opt out of the GMO experiment.
Currently, there are no legal requirements in the U.S. to label a product containing GMOs.
The failure to disclose in this, to me, is the real issue. Europe labels these things, Australia labels these things, Asia labels these things, and yet here in the U.S. we've all just been blissfully ignorant. I have a problem with that because it's not in the best interest of my family.
It's hard enough as a mom to have to go in and read every label. Your time's limited, and you really have to be knowledgeable about it. It should have been in there all along. I feel like we were tricked.
We're all part of a large, uncontrolled experiment, and we aren't getting answers because we don't know who's eating genetically engineered food and who isn't. So we have no way to do the studies. I suspect that this is the intention of the manufacturer. Let's so confuse the situation that no liability could ever be ascertained, even if there is a big problem.
Right now there are about 5 million kids with food allergies, and there's no way of knowing what is in the food that you're feeding your child unless it's labeled.
These products are on the shelf before you even know they are, and now they're in everything.
I don't want to be a human lab rat, and I certainly don't want my 2-year-old daughter to be a human lab rat.
So if there is no problem with GMO food, then why don't we just label it? If it's not a problem, I say label it. And so that is coming down the pike. It's a 2012 ballot initiative campaign to label GMOs, and I say support it.
The GMO labeling issue is on fire in the United States. Bills have been introduced in 19 states, although none have yet gotten past Monsanto's lobbying and influence peddling. In California, we have a real chance of victory because in California, it's a ballot initiative. People vote directly. So we finally have a chance to get what 9 out of 10 Americans have wanted for more than a decade: mandatory labeling of genetically engineered foods.
I have enough questions about this technology to wonder what's happening with us. We have studies that say everything's okay that in the industry, an industry that I don't trust. We have studies by independent doctors that say there are huge questions and that there are problems. There have been no long-term human studies done on this, and I, as a grandmother and a mother, am outraged that our government and that our agencies are not taking care of this for us. They're not protecting us. We have a right to know what we're putting inside of our bodies.
The entire world is looking to California because we can turn it around from this one place. The enormity of the threat is unprecedented in history. All living beings, all future generations. So the enormity of the solution is something that we cannot afford to let slip away.
You know, if you like GMOs, you think they're great, okay, label it. You know, just be proud of it. Buy it, label it, and, you know, but we have a right not to buy it. So, you know, that's our issue. And we're taking that to Washington. You know, we got to bring outside pressure. We got to bring a wake-up call to FDA and, yeah, make our voices heard.
We're taking back the power to the people. We have people all over this state that are working nonstop in communities, 151 leaders that are organizing their communities, that are getting out there, they're educating their people. We understand what's going on now with government and with corporations.
Folks, this is what can happen when one very persistent, semi-obnoxious Italian grandmother from California decides that it will. All it takes.
I just want these corrupt governments and corporations to leave my body alone, to leave my family alone, to leave my milk alone, my food alone, my family alone, my community alone. I can take care of myself. The whole world can take care of itself.
You want to know the dirty little secret of the biotech industry that they never talk about? No one gets up in the morning wanting to buy a GMO food. No one, not a single human being on earth gets up and says, boy, I can't wait to go to the supermarket and buy a GMO food. And why is that? That's because after 30 years and hundreds of billions of dollars of public and private investment, they haven't been able to come up with one thing in this food that actually helps the consumer. No better taste, no lower price, no more nutrition, nothing. Zip, zero, nada.
How do we get rid of genetically engineered foods? It's much easier than you think. And we don't have to ask the government for a bailout. We can do it ourselves. In Europe, when they achieved the tipping point of consumer rejection at the end of April 1999, within about a week, most major food companies committed to stop using GM ingredients. They had become a marketing liability. In the United States, as parents became aware of the cancer link to bovine growth hormone, it was kicked out of most American dairies. How many Americans will it take avoiding GMOs to create a tipping point in the United States? We think only 5%. Why? If the same food companies that already kicked GMOs out in Europe see even a small drop in market share in the United States that they can directly attribute to anti-GMO sentiment on the rise here, they will get rid of it here like they already got rid of it in Europe. It becomes a food industry sell signal, getting rid of GMOs, and we can do it ourselves.
These companies are parasites. They don't care. They want to make money, they want to run governments, and they are right now running governments. I don't know how long, but I think their time is running out.
While you can't control what was produced yesterday, by what you spend today, you get to control what is produced tomorrow.
Moms and consumers are the ones that are going to make this change. They're going to be the ones who are going to drive the change. If we demand that products be safe and healthy for our children, if we refuse to purchase products that we know are genetically modified, then the industry is going to have to respond, because at some point, mothers are the ones that are out there buying 80% of the consumer products, including the food supplies and the cleaning supplies and whatnot. And if we stop supporting those companies that are doing this, then they're going to feel it in their pocketbook, and unfortunately, I think that's where it really matters to them.
A mother protecting her child is one of the most fundamental forces in nature, and most women would do anything to protect their child. And so to harness that power in a positive way is something that no one could mess with.
This impacts everything and everyone. It's not just an agriculture issue, it's not just a food industry issue, it's an ever-living creature issue.
It's the most dangerous thing facing human beings in our generation.
Should you be concerned? I should think you'd be scared silly, not only for your children, but for you. Why do you think so many people are sick now? We cannot tolerate what's going on any longer. We must stand up and be counted. We must write our politicians. We must talk to the people at the store and say, I'm not going to buy it unless it says not genetically engineered.
I think we now can change the system. The world is ready.
You know, sometimes we hear that Monsanto can't be beat, you know, that the genie's out of the bottle or the genes are out of the bottle. But that just is not true. In the last 15 years, you and me and all of us, we have defeated genetically engineered tomatoes. They don't exist. Genetically engineered potatoes, they tried that. We got rid of that. Genetically engineered wheat. That was Monsanto's big try. All the wheat in the world to be genetically engineered, we defeated that. Genetically engineered rice, we defeated that. Genetically engineered biopharmaceuticals. This is when they were going to put all those vaccines into your food. That was defeated. Genetically engineered alfalfa, which is going to destroy our organic dairy industry. For 6 years, we have stopped that, and we're right in court to stop it again right now. Genetically engineered bent grass in all your schools and golf courses. We've defeated that. So they can be beat, they have been beat, and we will win. We will win this.
It's in our hands. It's right in front of us. It's just a matter of avoiding genetically modified foods and inspiring others to do the same.
And my new school, I'm going to try to get the GMOs away from there too.
What are you going to do?
Just keep on telling them, and then they'll probably get it away.
What are you going to tell them?
Stop doing the GMOs and start doing the good food.
If you give animals a choice, I know for sure they'll take the non-GMO every time.
We have a dog, a mascot dog in the office, cute little Cocker Spaniel. Her name's Chloe, and we decided, well, let's see if she can tell the difference between GMO and non-GMO. She immediately went through a pile of non-GMO corn versus the same, right there next to her, GMO corn. And she just tasted it, spit it out, went to the the non-GMO corn, and ate it. And Chloe does this every time. It's absolutely amazing.
I have feed that I store in my garage for my livestock. Our non-GMO feed is stored directly beside a conventional feed. We have seen where the mice, the rats, the raccoons will attack our non-GM feed and leave the GM feed untouched.
I obtained 4 or 5 cobs of genetically modified corn, took them home, threw them into my hens, which I thought they were going to eat them, but they just ran over like to eat them, but they didn't touch any of it.
I set up a feeder side by side with the regular feed store feed, and the chickens chose the non-GMO feed naturally. They emptied the feeder without touching the other one, so I refilled it, and I says, I'm going to play a trick on my birds. I flipped the 2 feeders from spot to spot, and the birds still chose the non-GMO feed, which was incredible.